Hey, everybody. Welcome to the Women's Automotive Network here on LinkedIn Live. My name is George Ayres. I'm the Managing Director of AutoMobility Advisors. We're a small consulting company that focuses on auto technology. And today I'm here talking with Chris Feuell from Stellantis. She's the CEO of the Chrysler brand. Very exciting. Welcome, Chris. Great to have you.
Good morning, George. Thanks for having me. It's great to be here.
Sure. And I'm wondering, I'm in Atlanta where it's 10 degrees today. I'm wondering if it's cold where you are.
It's
Seems to be
one.
a theme.
It's 1 degree.
One, you have me
Right.
beat. You have me beat by 9. Okay, great. Super. So thanks for joining us. Today's topics are really marketing in kind of two dimensions. You're a marketing professional at the top of the automotive game, so I think you should probably be able to help us a little bit understand the women buyers, women automotive consumers, their issues, et cetera. And that's an exciting topic. But also, what's I think very interesting for the Women's Automotive Network attendees is your career experience as a woman in an automotive industry. What's it like? What other experiences have you had perhaps that have helped shape your leadership style and things like that? So we're going to get into both of those topics. Why don't we start, just kind of set the table a little bit for everybody on, what is the CEO of the Chrysler brand all about, and what is the role and responsibility of the CEO of the Chrysler brand?
Well, the brand CEO role at Stellantis is responsible for everything that has to do with the life cycle of the brand. So we are driving our future product and technology roadmap and the investment that's required to keep that pipeline of new products filled. Day-to-day marketing and sales, as well as capacity planning, interfacing with our plants and supply chains to make sure that our production cycles run smoothly, strategic pricing, and also our customer experience strategies. And I think a lot of us, Chrysler in particular, are looking at different ways, more contemporary ways that we can better meet the needs of customers in the way they purchase their vehicle and have their vehicle serviced. So a lot of digital processes. We know that 80% of US consumers right now are really interested in executing more of the purchase experience online.
Mm-hmm.
So we're doing a lot of interesting things right now with a couple of pilots to test how well our technologies are serving those needs.
Yep, technology is a theme for sure. We'll get into a little bit of that as well. Why don't we talk a little bit, though, at the beginning, maybe just about the particular issues involved in marketing automobiles to women and maybe the opportunities as a woman leader that help guide you to kind of figure out how to do that.
Yeah, well, women are pretty savvy consumers. We do our research. We scrutinize the competitive set and products and assess how well those products and services meet our needs. And I think there are a couple of things that companies can do to more effectively market to women. One is put women actually in your spots. Create content
Mm-hmm.
with a woman's perspective and a woman's needs in mind. We may have unique use cases, we might have different priorities, and there are certain, with respect to an automobile, um, features and services that appeal to women. Women have different statures, so things that improve comfort and safety, like adjustable seats, pedals, steering columns, perimeter lighting that make us feel safe when we're approaching our vehicle in the dark. Um, Services that make the ownership experience easier, and affordability, I think, is top of mind for everyone. You want to be able to buy the kind of car that you aspire to, but it needs to meet your financial needs as well.
Sure. Yeah, those are great points. I remember maybe at the beginning of the SUV dominance in America, some of the feedback was women liked SUVs because they were up high and they could see,
That's
right? So product development, product design, very interesting. It sounds like you have a lot of responsibility in that area, right? Creating those product roadmaps, figuring out how to market them as well. My understanding is 85% of cars bought in the US are influenced by women for sure, and about 62% are bought directly by women. So
right.
if you're not tuned into the women's market, I think you're going to have a hard time selling
Yeah,
vehicles.
and to that point, I think marketing to women is one thing, but it's critical that the products that you're creating are also meeting the needs of women. And so when I joined Stellantis a little over 2 years ago, I felt like we were lacking a really deep understanding of what our customers' needs were. So we formed these customer insight groups that we call Project Ingenuity, and they're comprised of people who represent our target personas for where we want to take the Chrysler brand in the future.
Mm-hmm.
And many of the insight circles are comprised of women. More than half of the representation is women, and it's giving us a much better perspective around product design, materials that we're using, prioritization of things like comfort and safety for sure, but also the kinds of features that we incorporate into the vehicle. And particularly because we're migrating to become a fully electrified brand by the end of the decade, we've been really focusing a lot on electrification technology, software technology, and charging systems. So,
Mm-hmm.
women's priorities for battery electric vehicles are no different than the general market in the sense that they want a BEV that's affordable. It has to have a competitive range, that being 300 miles ish
Mm-hmm.
or more. They worry about charging. Where can I charge? How often and how much is it going to cost? And one of the really unique insights that we uncovered with our insight circles is the fact that women really prioritize safety around the charging station. So if you think about it, if you're on a road trip or if you're running errands in the evening, a lot of these charging stations are placed at the back of a parking lot. They're
Mm-hmm.
not always well lit and they don't always work.
Mm-hmm.
And so if you're by yourself trying to charge your EV, you might not always feel safe in that situation. So it's definitely a design and a layout that we are looking to solve for as we build out our charging network. And we're also talking with utility companies so that they keep safety and security top of mind as they're building out their infrastructures as well.
Super important as we move forward with all the things around the vehicle, dealing with those security issues, because you're right, people are there for more than 5 minutes. It's maybe something that they don't want to do. I think we're in, kind of the next wave of charging, though, where people are starting to figure that out, right? The first wave, a lot of cowboys out there putting charging points in all kinds of places. And that feedback, I think, has been consistent that safety and
Well,
security is important.
that's true. And the earlier charging stations that were installed were not well maintained.
Right.
We saw some data recently that as many as 70% of them were not working at any point in time.
Wow.
And so you could find them on your app, a Find My Charging Station app, and you'd pull up only to find that it doesn't work and you have to find another
Right.
one.
Right. So it sounds like you've kind of created these teams, customer insight teams, project ingenuity, helping you feed the management team the information about women's needs. In fact,
Right.
Chrysler owner needs, right?
That's right.
So you have some people helping you advocate inside the company. It sounds like that's really
Well,
good.
and it gives us data to arm ourselves. And when we get into those, as you're familiar with, George, difficult conversations in those cross-functional teams where you're fighting to keep content in a new product program, and this customer insight data is very compelling. for us to make cases for, keeping features in the vehicle or bundling them in a certain way. We also talk to these customers about how they want to pay for certain features,
Hmm.
because the whole concept of subscription payments has really
Hmm.
taken off over the last few years. And there can be this idea or notion that people are willing to pay for just about anything on subscription, and that simply is not the case. So we actually tested individual features and groups of features and asked, what makes sense on subscription? What would you rather have bundled into the base price of the vehicle? And what would you rather pay for on a use by use basis? Or you think that there's no value there, it should just be free. So it's really eye opening, to learn how consumers who actually buy vehicles every 3 years or maybe even 10 years, because they think about it very differently from people inside the industry who tend to have company cars.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. We tend to be a little isolated sometimes about that because of
Mhm.
how we work. So it sounds like you're focused on, even beyond the product quite a bit, all the ways the product is purchased and used and consumed and paid for and all those things. So you have kind of
Yeah.
a broad responsibility. Really exciting. Just a couple of other questions, and then we'll move to the career side. But I think I remember a couple years ago, you launched the Chrysler Airflow, which was a fabulous new vehicle, concept car at the New York Auto Show. I think you did a great job, by the way. And you talked about the Stella Brain, the smart cockpit, Stella Auto Drive, a lot of technology, right? So I'm just
Yeah.
trying to think about all these new technologies. Are there opportunities for you to kind of leverage those with women buyers in particular, right? We talked
Yeah.
about some of the basics like safety and security, but do you see some opportunities with these technologies as well?
Yeah, we see a lot of opportunities for these technologies to make life and the driving experience better and easier rather than more complicated. And that's how I've kind of gone into it with defining our product strategies as we look to integrate all of these advanced Stellantis technologies, Brain being the electrical and software architecture platform that's really the brains
Yeah.
of the overall vehicle. Smart cockpit is that infotainment interface and experience, and auto drive is the autonomous driving capabilities. And I like to talk about it as advanced technology for real life rather than as a science project, because if
Sure.
it can't be practically applied and used day to day, then we have to ask ourselves why we're doing it. Is it
Sure.
solving a problem? Is it making for a seamless experience for the customer? So we've really emphasized the user interface and the user experience in how we bring these technologies to life in a Chrysler product, because we want it to be intuitive, seamless, and fully integrate the customer's personal digital life with their mobile digital life.
Yeah. Yeah. And my experience, Chrysler also focuses quite a bit on detail, attention to detail inside the vehicle. I would expect that you get maybe some good opportunity there, certainly with women buyers as well around that.
Oh, absolutely. Well, I'm really proud of the fact that we have 65% of our brand team is comprised of women, and we have a female chief designer and a female design lead for color and materials. And so I think we are bringing those perspectives to all of our programs, but at the same time, I do think it's still important for us to look externally, to what our customers are looking for and how we can future those wants and needs as we're looking to launch these products over the next few years.
Yeah, I think that's great. You can't assume, right? You still need to go check with the customer and find the data. That's great. But maybe that's a good segue as well to think about, okay, you have more women in these teams, they're influencing the decisions. great. There's a couple of women that are running car companies, right? Mary Barra's, I think this year, 10 years at General Motors, which is
Right.
quite amazing. And I think Linda Jackson at Peugeot, right? One of your contemporaries.
Yes.
I mean, some would say, well, is there still a glass ceiling in the automotive business? Interested in your perspective.
Well, I think there is, but I'm also proud to say that at Stellantis, we have 5 women in the C-suite, and a lot of people don't know that.
Hmm.
Linda is the brand CEO of Peugeot. You have myself, the head of Chrysler. Our corporate CFO, Natalie Knight, just joined us last year. We have Beatrice Fouché, who's the Chief Product and Program Planning Officer, and Brigitte Cordehu, who is our CEO for Free2Move.
Hmm.
And that's intentional. You know, we have a tremendous supporter in Carlos Tavares who prioritizes diversity of all kinds, gender as well as cultural. And for those of us who are fortunate to be in leadership positions, we're not only role models, but we have to be champions to fill the pipeline and make sure that women are getting the opportunities and the development that they need to be able to progress, certainly by earning their way into those roles. But it doesn't happen by accident, and it happens because you have an intentional strategy around it.
Yeah, my guess is that you, in particular, probably have some informal mentoring that you do with women, and there's probably some formal programs as well, DEI type programs or other programs that might
Yeah.
be leverageable, right?
We have a tremendous Women of Stellantis business resource group that is over 1,000 women strong.
Wow.
And we do have a formal mentoring program. And of course, I informally mentor a lot of other people in the organization and outside the organization as well. We also have our Women's Leadership Experience Development Program, which is a 9-month development program targeted to more mid-level, high potential female employees to give them not only business acumen growth, but also leadership development growth.
That's great. Super. Also interested to learn a little bit more about your previous experiences. You were involved in technology companies. I know, I think Johnson Controls, Honeywell, as well as automotive companies. But working in those non-automotive or more technology type companies, how does that inform you and your career? How did that help you? What's the differences, if there is any, between those industries and the automotive industry? Interested in that experience too.
Well, I think that the biggest differences between those industries and in automotive is they've been extremely tech forward
Hmm.
for decades longer than the automotive OEMs. And so I gained a lot of really valuable experiences around developing and integrating software technologies into hardware solutions, as well as building artificial intelligence models to improve the functionality of those solutions, as well as the services that we provided to customers. And they were also more B2B oriented
Hmm.
companies rather than B2C. And it's a more complicated sale because you're not just selling to one person. Usually, an enterprise sale is one that's done by committee.
Yeah.
That
Yeah.
could be managed by a CEO and a COO, a chief purchasing officer, a chief financial officer, as well as, you know, someone who runs the warehouse and distribution network for a given company. So I think it forces you to really understand what's required to win for each of those functional stakeholders and position and tailor your presentation and your value proposition to appeal to each of those. So it was a really valuable experience in not only showcasing how you build value and what's your point of difference compared to your competition, but what you bring in terms of innovation, the solution, the support, and the service, and how the customer can gain a competitive advantage by using your solutions and by partnering with you.
Right.
And so definitely built a lot of expertise and experience with software development, integrating software technologies within solutions that I think has translated really well when I made my way back into automotive.
Right. So a lot of good experience with technology marketing, and that really is valuable now in the automotive business as that's really expanded, as we discussed. I was at the Consumer Electronics Show in Las Vegas last week, where there's lots of technology, lots of auto. It's actually become the, I think, auto event of the year in many ways. Really
Mhm.
interesting. And it makes me think about maybe some opportunities for women in automotive, right? Where they're coming into automotive as technology experienced people, not necessarily automotive. There's lots of areas in software and mobile app development and things like that, which we do in automotive that are not kind of core engineering of products. Is that creating opportunities? Do you see that in Stellantis, where younger women who are tech savvy, tech educated, can really seize that moment within auto where we're expanding rapidly in these areas, and they know a lot about that, right?
Yeah, for sure. We have some really incredibly talented women in our software and AI organizations, as well as in our vehicle engineering organizations. And so I think there's a lot of growth potential in STEM related both education as well as career paths. It certainly is where the most demand is from a career perspective. And so I think if women have both a talent and an interest in pursuing that kind of career path, I would definitely encourage it. We actually have to start a lot younger though, and really start nurturing our younger girls when they're in elementary school and middle school and high school, and building those interests and the education foundation for them to want to pursue those kinds of fields, because I think the growth is going to be there for a really long time.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. And do you see also maybe some opportunities for women that are collaborating with automotive? Right, there's a lot of ecosystem partners now in the automotive space. Think connected services, mobility, et cetera. So there's a lot of other companies you probably work with. We talked about not just the product, but all the other things you have to do. Do you see also maybe some collaborations there where there's opportunities for women to jump from a company into a company like Stellantis, for
Yeah,
example?
that's a really good point, George. We collaborate with all of the large technology players, whether it be Google, Amazon, Microsoft, and the like. And we've actually hired many of their engineers to come over to our side and help us accelerate our technology development capabilities and processes as we start to, like all of the OEMs, trying to transform from a traditional automotive company to an automotive technology company. It's really important to bring people in who actually have that expertise in both development as well as integration of those technology applications and platforms.
Great. So, and as the CEO of the Chrysler brand, you kind of see the whole company, right? You have a really good vantage point. You mentioned the top 5 C-suite women, which is great. Are there any functions within the auto industry, maybe generally, not just Stellantis, but generally, where you think women are underrepresented, that maybe there's opportunities for women to get it more involved?
For sure, I think that certainly in engineering and in software, there's an opportunity to have a higher representation of women in at the most senior levels. And that means that you have to build a pipeline of talent from the very beginning, getting them into rotational programs and development programs, and giving them opportunities for key experiences so that they can progress. I would say the other area where I see some blind spots is in general management roles where they're actually leading a P&L, because that
Mhm.
responsibility is so critical and invaluable to those who aspire to progress to the C-suite someday. Running a function, leading large teams of people, managing a P&L are really those key experiences that are must-haves.
Yeah, yeah. It used to be right engineering undergrad and MBA were the kind of hot setup to get to leadership. Um, I'm also wondering about just startups and small companies, right? There's a lot of innovation happening, a lot of opportunities for women in startups. You see any kind of possibilities there for women to go into those kind of places and then ultimately find their way to the big car company?
Sure. I think what's interesting about startups is, for those who have an entrepreneurial mindset,
Hmm.
who thrive on taking risks and trying new things and being really innovative, it could be a really interesting environment to cultivate those skills for creating a product or a solution strategy, selling it to a prospective customer, building and managing a P&L, and actually growing the business. It's one thing to work in a startup, and it's another thing to actually deliver results and make
Yeah,
money doing it. And I think that those are the kinds of leadership skills and results that we're looking to bring into our company.
sure. Entrepreneurship, we used to call it inside, right? So,
Right.
get your experience in the startup and then come into the big company and be an entrepreneur. So that's great. So we just have a couple minutes left. I wanted to also ask you just more of a fun fact question, just for fun. You're in the car business. I'm in the car business. Most people have experiences with cars in the car business. I'm wondering about your high school car experience. What did you drive in high school? And tell us a little bit about your first car experience.
I learned how to drive on a red Ford Fiesta with a manual transmission, and it had no air conditioning. It was just a stripped down kid's car, as my dad liked to call it. And he was determined to teach all of us how to drive a stick right out of the gate.
Yeah, yeah. Figure out how to get up the hill with the clutch and the whole shooting match,
Oh,
right?
well, I told you that little story about how I stalled out through 4 light changes with
and
the
and
car beeping
I don't
those lights
remember
behind
these
you.
the manuals are tiny fraction if there's even a few left in the American marketplace for manuals, but great skill to have.
These days that's true, but I was grateful that I learned it, because certainly throughout my automotive career, I have driven a lot of manual transmission vehicles.
Yeah, yeah. Good for you. Good for you. Well, I really want to thank you for joining us on the Women's Automotive Network. It's great to speak with you again and learn a little bit about your experience at the Chrysler brand and at Stellantis. And really, really encouraging to hear there's a lot of women in leadership at Stellantis, and that's a driving force. So, really, thank you very much. I want to mention also before we go that on Friday, March 8th, the Women's Automotive Network will be sponsoring International Women's Day. There might be some of that information, I think, on LinkedIn a little bit later. So Chris and I will try to join that as well. So thank you, Chris. Really appreciate it. Thanks for your time, and good luck.
Thanks, George. Great to see you again.
Thank you. Bye bye.
Bye.